Quick disclaimer before going into this video, I am being very critical in this one. I mean no disrespect to Evil Mojo at all. I've gotten to know several of the employees and they're all great people that I absolutely love. But this video does come from the heart of a very worried player that wants the best for the community he's a part of. I want both effective and meaningful change to happen during this PTS, so we can all get the best Season 3 update we possibly can. So I'm putting out my feedback and raising awareness so that can happen. That's what the PTS is for after all, testing things before they get put into the game, gathering feedback, and polishing them to as close to perfection as possible. Alright, on to the video. The Season 3 update is the biggest update Paladins has ever seen, with balance alone taking up over half the update notes. Without a doubt, they've done a lot of good. Flank Nando is back for people to enjoy, but in a more balanced state. Ruckus, Shaolin, and Amani feel better than ever, and several flanks are finally making their way back into viability. And that's only me naming a few of the good things they put together. However, with an update this big, it's impossible for it all to be good right from the outset, especially with how ambitious some of these design goals are. The most ambitious goal was to make players feel like Cauterize isn't required to win a game, while also making late game healing feel better. The way they went about this was by nerfing Cauterize and nerfing heal values across the board, at least on supports. From the start, I was confident that this wouldn't go over well. It was only an idea back then and wasn't something we could go public with, unlike the Wrecker nerfs. I did tell them that nerfing Cauterize wasn't a good idea, since they would of course have to nerf healers and that would make healers feel bad and lose what makes them satisfying to play. I brought up to them that a big reason that Io felt so bad on the Sun and Moon PTS was her simply not having high enough heal numbers. It took too long to heal a tank up to full, and that's why they increased her heal numbers. And adding Caught and support nerfs would make every healer feel bad like that. Several months later, we all found out that they were going to go through with the idea to nerf Caught and healing. And when the AOC saw the update notes early so we can give feedback on them, I spoke out against the Caught and healing nerfs. Based on the numbers alone, I could tell that what I feared was going to become a reality. Supports ultimately ending up feeling bad to play and far less impactful. The PTS hit, people played it, and everywhere I look, I see players complaining about the healing nerfs. Both the support players and the people being healed by the support players. Because since supports are so integral to how the game flows and how fun it is, these nerfs affect everyone negatively. These Caught and healing nerfs basically give no pros and several cons. Let me put the numbers into perspective for you. I'll use Saris as an example. Saris' base heal on live heals for 2000. When that heal is under the effects of Caught 3, you heal for 200. Now remember, one of their goals was to make healing feel more impactful late game when Caught 3 is up. Now on the PTS, Saris heals for 1400. When the new Caught 3 is up, Saris heals for 350. Does that sound more impactful to you guys? A measly 150 more healing? Keep in mind that you do get Caught sooner now because it's less expensive, and its duration is longer now too. It's 2 seconds instead of 1.5. So you have to wait longer to effectively heal your allies. I know half a second more doesn't sound like a lot, but even the smallest amounts of time mean a lot in real gameplay. I also want to point out that Rejuvenate was nerfed from 10% per level to 5% per level on top of all this as well. So what do supports really gain out of this? Your healing still feels like nothing under Caught 3, and it feels that way for longer. And your healing is less effective at keeping up your team throughout the game, due to the nerfs because the enemy can burst through your healing easier now. Keep in mind that healing was nerfed, but all the damage in the game stayed the same. It technically got better. The DPS numbers didn't go up, but the DPS and flank characters are more effective now so they can utilize their damage more effectively. The heal numbers on live are carefully balanced around the damage numbers. So if you nerf one and not the other, then you have a massive balance problem. Now to be clear, this is not me saying to nerf all the damage in the game. In theory, yes, that would balance it out, and I bet that does sound good to some people, but in reality it would also make all the damage feel as bad as all the healing does. You can't take everything in the game and nerf it. People hate that. People hate feeling weaker. Any of you ever play a game where the devs nerf things more than they buff them? I have, plenty of times. It sucks. You get used to something for so long and it's working out fine, then it all gets nerfed and your enjoyment plummets. Also, no surprise, I don't play those games anymore. Now, so far I've only gone over supports in general, but I do have several specific examples to go over as well with some of the healers. Let's start with Io. So Io, compared to the others, doesn't feel that bad healing wise. However, they gave her more Moonlight on top of reducing her healing numbers. Now, what does this do? Well, it makes her into a heal bot. Currently, Io isn't a heal bot. Io does heal a lot on live, but that doesn't make her a heal bot. A good Io can do more than heal in a fight, because there's room to when you manage things properly. On PTS, you are taking longer to heal people up, and you have more Moonlight to do it. In the time it takes you to heal up a tank, your other tank can drop to low health. So you take another 5 seconds healing up that tank, and then hey, what do you know, somebody else is weak. You see what I mean? There's no room for you to do other things. You are stuck heal botting until you run out of Moonlight. Then you can attack to get your Moonlight back because you have to, not because you choose to. On live, since you heal allies up faster, there's way more room to attack and to get Luna to stun people, or set up that ult off the map when you choose to. And that's what's important. Being able to make the choice on your own with nothing forcing what you decide to do. Now let's talk about Grover. So Grover heals for a 750 burst now, and has a lower rampant blooming bonus on top of that. Not to mention that his heal cooldown card, Perennial, was also nerfed, so you have a longer cooldown too. You do have the new Fatalis card that reduces the cooldown of Blossom by up to 5 seconds when you land your Crippling Axe though. But here's the problem with this. 1, you feel forced to run this card. 2, you feel forced to give up your CC in order to keep up healing wise. And even then, you don't really keep up healing wise. So you basically become a heal bot since you aren't looking to use your crippling throw at key moments to save an ally, defend yourself from a flank, or help your team get a kill. Instead, you're throwing the crippling axe at any enemy you see, or even a deployable in some cases, cause that counts. And you do it in an ultimately futile attempt to keep your team up. You just don't feel impactful, and it isn't a case of the Grover being good or bad. I was playing with Jinx Flare, who is a great healer and has been playing a ton of Grover on live, so I know how good her Grover feels to play into. On PTS though, it felt terrible to be healed by even her Grover. The devs don't want Deathball, but when I was playing with Grover as a healer, I felt forced into Deathball as Ruckus, a Ruckus of all things. Ruckus is a highly aggressive character on live, and on the PTS he's supposed to be even more aggressive since you can now run aerial assault for more mobility. On live, I could leave the Grover circle, get a kill, come back, get fully healed, and go back out. But on PTS, I was stuck in that circle the whole game, and the whole time Jinx was telling me how bad healing with Grover felt. And I was agreeing with her because half the game I was waiting for out of combat healing because Grover simply couldn't keep up. Imagine being a support, using your heal, and watching both your tanks still having to hide and wait for another game mechanic to do your job. On top of that, I had to unironically buy Veteran because of how much out of combat healing I was doing. Sometimes people buy Veteran on live to BM their support, but I was doing it because I felt like I had to. So think about it. Would you as a healer like seeing your tanks make more use of out of combat healing and Veteran than you? Probably not. How about Furia? Furia had her heal cooldown card for her right click removed. You are now stuck with a 4-second heal cooldown. 1, this makes her cherished talent, that I spent a lot of time pushing to get buffed for you guys, completely irrelevant. You cannot keep a team up with it anymore, so you're forced into using Solar Blessing again. Now it did get a buff, the beam goes slower so your teammates can catch it easier, but we all know that people are still going to walk away from the beam. That's the reality of public games. Without communication, people aren't going to notice. So as far as PTS goes, we're back to a time where Furia's most frustrating talent is her only viable one, and we're also back to a time where her right-click CD is too high. And keep in mind that Furia was a dead character back when that was a thing. So both of these times are being put into one. There's no way that's ever gonna feel good. Reducing heal values feels bad enough, but messing with cooldowns feels absolutely terrible. Now yes, it does give you more room to do other things, but if your team is dying all around you, does it really matter? I'm going to stick with those examples for this video. I don't want to keep going and make this a 20-minute one. I wanted to put these Cauterize and support nerfs into perspective for you guys. The people that played PTS already know this, but I know a lot of you don't or can't play PTS, so I need you to be informed. I want to say the only times healing ever felt good while playing on the PTS was when I was standing in a Damba Gourd because the Ripened Gourd talent is nuts, or when there were 2 healers on the team, or when my team was steamrolling the other team. Because if we're steamrolling them, then we're not under any pressure, so our healer doesn't have to work very hard to keep us up. In any even game though, healing felt terrible for everyone involved. Also, don't think because you don't play support that this won't affect you, because it will. You may not play support, but you're still being healed by them. This affects everyone negatively, and I want you guys to be aware of this because we need your voices too if we're going to get this messed with. Evil Mojo needs to hear your feedback on this, and the more feedback they get, the more likely this won't go live as it is. If it does go live as it is, we're looking at 2 months of a very slow-paced game where you're waiting for heals for half the game. Or you're going in and dying a ton because you want to play the game and not sit behind a wall for half of it. Either way you're waiting, whether it's behind a wall or in the spawn room. I honestly feel like if they wanted to make COT 3 feel less bad late game, they could have nerfed it to 75% without nerfing heal values. Now some might be scared that doing that would make healers feel too OP. But do you guys remember when we had inbuilt Cauterize in loadout cards? Basically all those cards gave 75% COT, and keep in mind it wasn't on weapon attacks, it was on abilities that were tied to cooldowns, like Fernando's Fireball. And even then, those loadout cards were enough to effectively counter healing. So I would like to think that 75% COT on weapon attacks would also effectively counter healing, without completely gutting it late game. Now yes, this doesn't help them achieve their design goal about making Cauterize not a must-buy, but if I'm being honest, I really think that's a pipe dream. It's simply not possible without ruining the feel of supports, and that alone makes it not worth it. Making healing feel better late game is more realistic though, so that's what they should focus on pursuing. Anyway, I'm done talking now, it's your guys' turn. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to go out to Reddit, Twitter, the forums, and put your thoughts out there too so the devs can see it. The louder the voices, the better the results. But yeah, that's pretty much it guys. I want to thank you all for watching, I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys laters. Bye.